So one of the things we do at ECO-UNESCO is empowering young people to help protect our environment. And we're also very, very proud to be a Sustainable Development Goals ambassador. We're one of only about 20 Sustainable Development Goals ambassadors in Ireland. So we're really, really proud to have this status. So today's session, Introduction to the SDGs. You can see my picture there. If you can't see me in video, that's what I look like. So as I said, my name is Sive, and I'm going to be running the session with you guys today. My background is in ecology, which is all about plants and animals. So I know loads and loads of information about that kind of stuff. But today we're going to focus on, in particular, goal number 17, which is the last goal you can see on the list there. And goal number 17 is all about partnerships for the goals. So we'll explore goal number 17 in particular. So the Sustainable Development Goals, which we also call the SDGs, they are an international plan created by the United Nations. Every country agreed to work towards these goals so that by the year 2030, everyone will be more equal and will have a healthier and safer environment and planet for all. So what are these goals, what are they meant to do? There's one plan for all, so they help countries, schools and businesses aim for all the same big goals. They're good for the people and planet. They connect caring for people with protecting nature and climate. Fairness is a big part of these goals, so everyone should have equal chances everywhere. And the last part of the goals is teamwork, so nations and groups work together to solve global problems. Now, why do they matter? The SDGs are important because they provide a clear roadmap for building a future where people can live well without damaging the planet. They also remind everyone, leaders, communities, and individuals that progress requires collective effort and measurable results. So really, really important. Now, that seems quite broad, and maybe it's a bit scary for everybody today, but we're going to go through the SDGs in very, very good detail today. So don't worry too much if you're not sure about what that means. So in today's session, we will be discovering our role in shaping a sustainable world, bringing a better understanding of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, I don't know if Antonia mentioned, but before we start, I think it would be a really good idea if everybody could write in the name of their school and how many people are joining from their class. So I can see a lot of teachers' names, and I can see some names like 6th class, but I'd really like to know what school you're joining from and how many people are in your classroom today. So if you could type that into the chat, that would be really, really helpful for us. Let's do some shout outs as well to see who's here. So first one in will get a big shout out. Oh, we have Our Lady of Lourdes. Thanks, Miss Burke. There's 27 girls in Our Lady of Lourdes classroom. We also have Rosenallis, National School, 5th and 6th class. That's fantastic. Hi, guys. We have 27 people in St. Patrick's National School in 3rd class. We've St. Teresa's Primary School in Lurgan, 22. This is really great, guys. Who else do we have? We have Lyre National School, 30 pupils, 2nd to 6th class. Oh, that's a big group. That's nice. We have Beaumont Boys in Cork. Hi, guys. Clare Galway National School. Absolutely fantastic. That's so great. Creevy National School. Hi, guys. We have Scolmora Glentees. Our Lady of Lourdes. 5th class. Hi, guys. That's really, really great. Thanks so much, everybody, for sending in your class numbers. It really, really helps us get attendance for this week so we can know a bit more about who's joining in. And it's really, really fantastic to see you all. I hope to see you every day this week. So thanks so much for sending that in. Now that we have that, we're going to start with our session. So let's have a look. What are the big problems on our planet right now? So I want you to think that you are the president. You can decide you're the president of the world if you want to, that's fine with me, or just the president of Ireland. So what are the problems faced by people in your community, in Ireland, and in the world in general? So I want you to write your ideas into the chat box and we'll read some of them out. So in your class, have a discussion. What are the big problems? I want you to imagine that you're the president and try and think of some of the problems that are being faced in Ireland and in your community and all around the world. So write your answers into the chat again. What are some of the problems that you have? Oh, we have someone coming in already. Sixth class say climate change. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Kit. That's a great answer. Miss Dunleavy's classroom say poverty. Fantastic. Global warming, definitely. War, poverty, and hunger from Miss Eleanor's class. Yeah, definitely. Cars are polluting the air from Miss O'Donnell's class. Very good. Too much rubbish, says Olivia in third class. Definitely. We definitely have too much rubbish. Sculpodrig, I just missed it. Oh no, it went away again. Sculpodrig in Garran National School. Housing, litter, pollution, poverty. Yes, definitely. Oh, Theo in sixth class says people eating a lot of meat. That's a good one. Yeah, that's true as well. Miss Laughlin's class says gender fairness. That's definitely a big part of it too. That's a big problem that we're facing in the world. Jamie in sixth class says dirty streets. That's a big problem too. We definitely have a lot of dirty streets, a lot of litter. First class in Skulwera say fish are dying because of rubbish. That is a very big problem. Definitely. We have absolutely loads of answers coming in. Skulmura and Glentees say burning fossil fuels. That's definitely a big, big problem. Definitely. First class in Skulwera say some countries don't have clean water. That's true. We're lucky in Ireland. We have quite clean water, but some countries don't, and they aren't as lucky as us. Second and third at Skulwera say litter is a problem, ocean pollution, and food waste. Definitely. Those are all very big problems. Good job to second and third class in Skulwera. Dan in sixth class says not enough recycling. Definitely. These are all really big problems that you guys are thinking of. So really, really well done. So there's lots of different problems we have around the world. Some of them are in Ireland, some of them are in other countries as well. Using cars too much, says Aria G in sixth class. Definitely as well. Yeah. Really, really good, guys. So, one of the things that helps all of these problems are these sustainable development goals. So you might have heard of the word sustainable development before. If you have, try and write that into the chat. So what do you think sustainable development means? So have a little discussion in your class. Think of it, break it down. What does sustainable mean and what does development mean? Have a chat in your class and then answer in the chat box as well. So what do you think sustainable development means? As best as you can answer. And if you can't think of an answer, maybe think of some things that are to do with sustainable development. Like, for example, we talked about cars and fossil fuels. So maybe one example is electric cars. So have a chat in your classroom, discuss what you think sustainable development means. And if you're not sure, write in some things that you think might be involved with sustainable development as well. So we have sixth class are saying changing things for the environment. So yeah, thinking about the environment and looking after it. Improving our environment, fourth and sixth class, Clonade Power, very good. Sustainable equals fair, even, and responsible. Development equals growth and change. Very good, Rosnallis National School. So growth and change is what we want to do. That's the development part. And sustainable is stuff that's responsible. That's a great word. What else do we think sustainable means? Being a good citizen. Very good. Using materials that are being recycled. Yeah, definitely. Making the environment and resources last. Yeah, that's a big part of it. So thinking about the future, thinking about what we're doing now, and making sure that what we're doing now is good for the people in the future, not just for us. Changing things in an eco-friendly way, definitely. Making things last longer so that we can keep doing it. That's really good. People being equals, as Miss Eleanor's class. Very, very good. Creevy National School say do things that are more sustainable: solar panels, more cardboard packaging, water power, and wind power. Really, really good, guys. That's excellent. So I think a lot of you know what sustainable development means already, going by your answers. Making changes to help people and the environment for the future, second and third class in school were very, very good. So if we look at the official definition of sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Now, that is a big mouthful of a description, and it's quite hard to understand. So what it really means is development means growth or change. So you guys got that definitely right. And sustainable is something that we can do over and over and over again. So if you can imagine, if you were thinking of sprinting is not sustainable. You can only sprint for a little bit of time and then you run out of energy. Whereas if you walk, that's a bit more sustainable. You're using a little bit of energy and you're still going to get there, but it might be a bit slower. So if you think of something as sustainable, it's something that we can do for a long time. It doesn't take up too much energy or use as much resources. That's what sustainable means. So in terms of our planet, it's using a small amount of resources now so that there's still some left for people in the future. So it's a very fair way of treating the planet and other people. Now, it's ensuring the Earth will still be healthy and have all the resources for people in the future. So how we live in our current planet and the rate that we use and produce items will impact the well-being of future people. And we need to meet our needs now, like stuff like food and health and clean air and biodiversity. And we need to live in a way that ensures we have a healthy planet to live on now, but also in the future as well. So that's something really, really important to think about. So again, sustainable development. Sustainable means being able to carry on this way for a long period of time without negative effects or failing to reach our goals. And development means growth, change, improving, achieving something, or moving to the next stage. So there's a kind of easier definition. Sustainable development is growth and change that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So let's look at the Sustainable Development Goals. So you might have seen these before, or this picture before. These are the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is how we practice sustainable development. So you can see there's 17 goals there all together, and they're all about different stuff. So you can see the top row is about things like poverty, hunger, good health. The middle row is more about clean energy and decent work and production. And then the last row is more to do with the environment and peace and justice. So you've probably seen this picture before somewhere, maybe in school, or it's hanging up in your classroom. Maybe you've never even noticed it before. But this picture, once you know what it is and you've seen it now, you'll see it absolutely everywhere, I can guarantee. So how did these sustainable development goals come about? Where did they come from? So way, way back before any of you were born, in 1992, which is quite a long time ago now at this stage, we had something called the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So at that time, more than 178 countries, they got together and they adopted a rule called Agenda 21. And that was a plan of action. So what they wanted to do was build a global partnership for sustainable development and improve lives all around the planet. So from 1992 to the year 2000, they developed these things called the Millennium Development Goals. Now, if we go back to the previous slide, the Millennium Development Goals were basically the ones you see on the top row there. So number 1, no poverty. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health. Number 4, quality education. Number 5, gender equality. And number 6, clean water and sanitation. So those were the original Millennium Development Goals. And what happened was basically the global north, which is what we call the richer countries in the world, or you might have heard of it called the developed world, they came up with these ideas and they thought only the global south, the poor countries in the world, had problems that needed to be fixed. So that's how they came up with this Millennium Development Goals. They thought, let's look at all the poor countries in the world, what are the big problems that they have, and let's try and fix those. So that was the original Millennium Development Goals that were released in the year 2000. And then as the years went on and we came along to the year 2012, all those rich countries, the global north, they really realized that it's not just the poor countries that have the issues, it's the rich countries in the world that have problems too. So they realized the Millennium Development Goals, they weren't enough. They weren't the right thing to be doing. And so they started working on a new set of goals. So you can see they started working on the new set of goals in 2013, and by 2014, they had their final draft. So in 2015, in Paris, all these countries got together again at something called COP, which means Conference of Parties. Basically, all of the presidents around the world and the politicians, they all got together and discussed climate. So in 2015, we had something called the Paris Agreement, and they released the Sustainable Development Goals into the world. So the Sustainable Development Goals are the ones that we use today, which are the ones on this previous slide here. So that's what they came up with in 2015. Now, we're supposed to achieve these goals by 2030, which is why I have 2030 at the end of that line there. Does anybody think that we're going to fix all these problems by the year 2030? What do we think? I think it's going to be quite difficult. What about you, Antonia? What do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe hopefully some or close to some, but yeah, I think it's quite difficult. It's very close as well. It's in the next 4.5 years-ish. So
yeah, we're very close to the end now. So we've been going since 2015. So 10 years we've been working on these goals. Cal in first class say we can try, but it will be difficult. I agree. That's definitely what I think is going to happen. It's very, very difficult to achieve these goals, and hopefully we can achieve some of them, but I don't think we're going to achieve all of them by the year 2030, which is at the end of our scale there, which is sad, but it just means there's room for improvement and we can keep trying to make them a bit better. Okay, now, with all that knowledge about how the SDGs came about, I want you to think about which SDG is the most important one. So you can look at the picture of the SDGs again. I'll bring it up again. And I want you to think about which SDG is the most important goal, which is the most important to you and to your classroom. Have a think and write into the chat which goal you think is the most important goal. Which goal do we think is the most important goal?
this is a tough one, I feel.
I think it's tough as well. Yeah, Miss Eleanor's class say hunger and poverty are the most important ones. Okay, that's a good answer. Anybody else? What's your favorite goal, Antonia?
I think because I have a background in wildlife and stuff like that, I think mine is 15. So it's life on land. Because I
Yeah,
think I
mine's
have
probably
a
15. Mine's probably 15 as
stronger
well.
affiliation, stronger connection to that one. But
Yeah. Oh, you
they're
have
all
lots of
important.
answers.
Yeah.
Winnaflook, I think that's I'm pronouncing that right. They say clean water and sanitation. M&S 6th class say no hunger. Ross and Alice say 3, which is good health. 13, which is climate action. 14 and 15 are life below water and life on land. We have no hunger, good health, says 2nd and 3rd class in Skolwera. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. Star of the Sea said that, so I think that one makes sense for them. We have poverty, gender, and health. 6th class say 13, which is climate action, no hunger. Everybody has different opinions. Definitely, yeah. So I think the coolest thing about the Sustainable Development Goals is that there's not one goal that is more important than any of the rest of them. So it's kind of a trick question that I asked you guys. But I think it's really important that you know every single goal is important. And without one goal, if you forget about one, it affects all the rest of them as well. It has a negative effect on all the other ones too. So it's really, really important that we don't just think about one goal, we think about all of them and how they work together. So for example, if we go back to this slide again, me and Antonia said our favorite goal is goal number 15. So that's all about life on land. But what comes from the land? All our food, for example. So That means that we have enough food to eat. That leads to zero hunger and maybe good health as well, because you can have good foods to eat. Life on land also affects clean water and sanitation. There's loads of different connections that you can make between all the different goals. And so it's really, really important that we don't just focus on one goal, but we actually think about all of them together and we try and improve all of them. Because if you improve one, it has a knock-on effect and improves the others too. So that's really, really important. So you can think of sustainability as this kind of building here. We have three pillars. We have the environmental, which is the bottom row of the Sustainable Development Goals. We have the social, which is the top row, and we have the economic, which is the middle row. So if you take out one of those pillars, that whole structure is going to fall down. So it's really, really important that we realize that all these goals are connected to each other and that action in one area affects all the other outcomes in the other areas, and that development is a balancing act. So we have to think about the balance between all the different types of goals that we have. So what will happen after the year 2030? It's a really big question and one that we get asked. And the answer is probably, well, we don't know, first of all, but I think what will happen is that we'll probably update some of the goals. Maybe we'll change some of them to have different names. So that would be different targets or something like that. But it's really hard to tell. Maybe we'll transition to something else. I don't know. But we might take into account the different needs of different countries. So we do that a bit already. Each country has different targets for the goals depending on what they started out with. So for Ireland, for example, we had very high targets because we were quite a rich country and we're quite developed already. Whereas countries that might be poorer have more simple goals and they're a bit lower. So maybe the targets will change. Or maybe we'll come up with new goals altogether. I don't know what the answer will be. I'm not the president of the world, but we're going to find out pretty soon, I think, because I would guess they're probably in development already. It is 2025, so they're probably thinking about it already. As you might remember, it did take them a good couple of years to come up with the other sets of goals, 3 or 4 years. So I think that's probably what's going to be happening again. And I'm pretty sure they're already in development, but we're not, we don't know that information yet, but I think we'll find out pretty soon. So it's really, really important to remember for all the young people that are watching that unsustainable development and the impact that it's having on our planet, like wildlife and human rights, is not our fault. We've all been born into this existing system that is very destructive for our planet. So a lot of people don't know, for example, that climate change is not a new thing. The first time climate change was mentioned was way, way back in the 1800s. So it's something that's even before our grandparents or our great-grandparents' time. And it's something that's been happening for a really, really long time. So it's not our fault that climate change is happening now. It's been happening for quite a while. And every generation does good and bad things that affect it. And we need a system change. So it's not, individual changes are great, like recycling and doing all the things we can, but it's really important that the whole system gets a big change. So we need to make huge individual positive changes, like I said, recycling or using clean energy in your house, for example, but the governments around the world and the industries need to change as well. So they need to be held accountable for their actions and for their unsustainable practices and take responsibility when they don't do any actions. And there is lots of industries, even in Ireland, that we're seeing problems with like that at the minute. So in Ireland in particular, how are we doing? Well, there's this thing that you can look at. It's called the SDG dashboard and trends. So you can see all the different SDGs here, and they're all in different colors. So if it's green, that means the SDG is achieved. If it's orange, there's still a few challenges. Or sorry, if it's kind of a yellowy color, there's still challenges. If it's orange, there's a lot of challenges. And if it's red, there's major challenges ahead. So you can see here we have one green, which is fantastic. We've achieved no poverty in Ireland. Now, you might be thinking, I'm pretty sure there's poor people in Ireland, and there is, but the target that we had to achieve the amount of poor people and people living under the poverty line has been reduced greatly in the last 20 years, we'll say, since 2015. And so that's a goal that we have actually achieved our targets for. So maybe what will happen in 2030 is that we'll get new targets, again, to try and achieve those. Now you can see the worst goals, the red ones that we have, are number 2, number 12, number 17, and number 13. And the worst of all of those, you might notice, is number 12. So number 12 is responsible consumption and production, and you can see it has a red arrow going down. That means that we're getting worse. So not only is it the one that we're worst at, but we're also getting worse over time. It's not improving at all. Does anybody want to guess why number 12 is the worst goal? Why we're doing the worst at number 12? It's called responsible consumption and production. And I'll give you a clue. It's about waste. So why do we think Ireland is the worst at number 12? What is something that we waste? Rossnallis National School have it straight away. Does anybody else want to guess? What is the thing that Ireland is wasting a lot of? Some people are guessing food, which is a really good guess. There's definitely lots of food waste happening in Ireland, but it's not the thing that we waste the most out of anything. We have one person who got it right, or one classroom. Yeah, it's starting to come in now. So the thing that we waste the most in Ireland is actually fashion. It's clothes. We buy the most fast fashion out of any country in Europe, and we're one of the biggest consumers of fast fashion in the world. So it's a huge, huge problem that we have in Ireland, and something that we really, really, really need to try and fix. So that's how Ireland is doing in terms of sustainable development. We're doing pretty good. Most of the arrows you can see are pointing kind of diagonal or straight up. That means that we're increasing quite a lot. So we're improving all the time. Some of them are pointing straight up, like you can see with no poverty. And a lot of them are kind of going sideways, which means that we're kind of just even. We're level. We're not really getting better. We're not getting worse. We're just kind of staying the course of what we were doing before. So that's how Ireland is doing in terms of sustainable development. Could be worse. Could be a lot better, though. For how much money we have in the country, we could be thinking a lot more about some of these problems. So what kind of actions do we need? We definitely need to reduce emissions. So lots of you guys mentioned fossil fuels and cars and stuff like that. So we need to reduce our emissions. We need to phase out fossil fuels and boost renewable energy, improve public transport and reduce the number of cars on the roads. And we need to waste less as well. Another thing that we have to do is transform the way that we use land. So give farmers support to switch to sustainable crops, better incentives for stuff like rewilding and replanting forests, encouraging biodiversity and protecting and creating the planet that we have. And finally, changing our lifestyle. So buy less, buy better, change your diet, reusable plastics, and buy organic as well if we can. So that's some of the things that we can do to help our planet. We can also work together, be loud, spread awareness. So protesting like this, but there's lots of other options as well. Writing letters to your local TDs is always a great way. Calling them on the phone too, if they don't answer their emails, is another fantastic thing that we can do. So be loud and spread awareness as much as possible. And finally, work together and demand change. So the only way that we can fix all these problems if you really, really work together. So there's something that we often say at ECO-UNESCO. It's think locally and act globally. So think of something in your local area that needs to change and try and change it as best you can, and that will have a global effect. So think locally, act. No, sorry, I'm doing it the wrong way around, aren't I? Think globally, act locally. That's the way. So think about big planets, about the planet, and think about the big problems that we have. Act in your local area, and that will have a knock-on effect. If everybody does that, then all of those areas are going to join up and we'll have sustainable development. So the last thing that I'll leave you with today is a quote from Ban Ki-moon, who used to lead the United Nations. He said, "You're the first generation that could put an end to poverty and the last generation that could put an end to climate change." So there's lots of problems that we have on the planet right now, and we really, really need to get our act together and start sorting them out as soon as possible. So that's something that we all need to think about. And I hope over the next sessions, over the rest of the week, that you'll be thinking about how you can act in your local area that will have a global effect. So thanks so much, everybody, for listening. That's the end of my session today. There's lots of ways that you can get involved with ECO-UNESCO. One of the big ones, I suppose, is the Young Environmentalist Awards, which you can enter before Christmas and do a local action project that has a global effect. So if you can think of one of those local actions, oh, someone has written in one already. We swap our school jumpers when they get too small, we take them in and pass them on to the first class. That's an excellent way to do it. Yeah, so ideas like that are great things that you can enter into the Young Environmentalist Awards. and maybe you'll get to win some prizes. So there's lots of information about those on our website. If you want to know more about the Young Environmentalist Awards, have a look on our website. We also have workshops that we do in schools, that we deliver in schools. So if you want to know more about that, again, have a look at our website. Typically myself or Maya, who's running the other sessions, runs the workshops, and we have lots of different ones that you can choose from. So have a look or get in touch and we can send you the brochure for workshops. And then finally, we also have youth groups as well. So if that's something that you're interested in doing or having in your local area, you can reach out, info@ECO-UNESCO. That email address will get you to any of us. So if you want to know more about any of the different things that we do, you can send an email to info@ECO-UNESCO and it'll get to the right person. So thanks so much everybody for listening. We have a QR code on screen now. You can let us know what you think about the sessions that we're running this week. If you have any opinions on what you'd like to hear about, or if you have any thoughts, what works well, what doesn't work well, please let us know. That would be really, really helpful. Maybe Antonia can send in the link to this. She thinks she can anyway. Send in the link to this survey. So you can just click it from the chat if you can't scan the QR code now. And then finally, we have sessions running all of this week. So later today, we'll have Our Island Working Together for Climate, which is with community garden sport. And we'll have different sessions all week this week. You still time to sign up to as many of them as you want. And they're all free to enter. So if you do want to catch one, you could sign up even up to the last minute and take part with us. So thanks so much for everybody. I can see all your messages coming in. Thanks so much for listening. And I hope you have a great week. Antonia, is there anything else you want to add before we head off? If anybody has any questions, you can ask them in the chat.
Hope you all had a great session, and thanks, Sive. Yes, so as Sive said, you can still sign up for all of them for the remainder of the week. If you have any questions, just pop us an email at that info@ECO-UNESCO, and one of us will answer it. But thank you for coming to the first session of Eco Week 2025. And yeah, I currently don't have the link, but anyone who's signed up right now, one sec, I actually might just have the link. Anyone who has signed up, you guys will get an email with the link following up. So feedback is great for us. It means we can work on it again next year and tailor it to whatever specific needs mentors, teachers, or anyone joining in from home, wherever you're joining in from, would like to see next year. So yeah, thanks guys. Hope you have a great week.